Welcome back to Village in Motion this Thursday, July the 25th. This segment of the show today, we have a comment from finance from two individuals, and they are our champions in regards to finance. And we greatly appreciate having King Kauke, who is the chairman of Finance Committee, and Joanne, who is one of the members of the Finance Committee. And being transparent, I have to tell you, I'm also a member of the Finance Committee. But we have the two champions here sitting to my left. Welcome, guys. Glad to have both of you.
Morning.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Why do we have a Finance Committee?
Well, I think we have a finance committee as part of the whole resident council structure, and finance, of course, is a specialty, to operate or intermediate or somehow work between the administration and the residents, passing information back and forth and presumably letting the administration know what we think is going on in the community and trying to help the community understand what's going on in finance.
Okay. Joanne, being a resident and being out in the community as well as being a member of the Finance Committee, what kind of questions do residents ask? What do you see as residents' concerns about finance?
Generally speaking, they're more interested in, is their investment safe? The finances of Green Springs safe? They want to know what the increase in the rent will be next year and why.
Okay.
That kind of question. They're not really asking accounting questions
Right.
or bookkeeping questions. It's generally related to the security of their investment here.
Right. And our investment is secure. We're stable, right, Ken?
I would say so. We certainly have extraordinary numbers compared to even our other communities in the Erickson system and certainly across the nation, CCRCs. Yeah. Unbelievably high occupancy rate historically, and the great numbers follow from that.
Right. I was reviewing the financials from last year. We're doing a fantastic job with our finances here. I mean, and recognizing now that we have, 860 days of cash on hand?
Exactly, yes. Cash on, they call it cash on hand, and that's an industry standard, and the rating agencies accept that definition. It does include long-term investments, to be honest.
But that means, though, we could live here, if nobody paid another dime, we could live here for over 2 years.
Exactly.
In regards to it. And I don't think a lot of communities could say that.
No, not at all. It's an extraordinary number.
And that doesn't mean you should.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but speaking of that, what you just said, we should always pay our bills, right? And we should pay our monthly statements.
That's how we were raised, to pay our bills.
Okay. But occasionally it happens where someone runs out of money, and there's a mechanism to deal with that, right?
There is at Green Spring. We have basically what happens when a person runs out of liquid assets, cash basically. They of course talk to the people in charge and negotiate some kind of spend down where they're able to draw against their original deposit.
Which means that they actually take the money of their original deposit, right?
Yeah, which reduces any balance that the heirs might be entitled to.
Right.
And then if that becomes exhausted, then they may be eligible to apply for the funds from the Benevolent Care Fund, which is a separate fund that's funded by contributions to help people who get in trouble.
Okay. And if someone's recognizing they're starting to get low on their funds, they need to go to the finance officer, right?
Yes, the finance office is open to all kinds of questions and has been as long as I've been here, which is 6 years now.
Right.
But yeah, that certainly should, if they have any problem or anticipate a problem, they should certainly take it up with finance and get guidelines as to what to do.
Yeah. I've been here over 11 years, and I've never seen anyone kicked out for lack of funds.
I don't believe so. Yeah.
No. They're subject to the same restrictions that you can't give away your money and then turn to Green Spring to fund you. But that most of our residents are well aware of that. That was part of the contract they signed when they came in, and they know that, and they're not going to try to evade that.
Yeah. But that's a very important part, though, Joanne. I mean, it really is the fact of people being aware. You can't just give your money out. There has to be a reason for why you're spending large sums outside of here.
Yes.
With the finance officer we currently have with Cody Burns, he meets with us. He talks to us.
Yes, Cody's quite personable, quite transparent, and very helpful. Actually, he's the fourth finance director that I've worked with, and they've all been very good. They've all been transparent, very helpful, and very open. And what else can I say? And very smart.
Yes, yes. And each one of them have certain talents, and they've built on one another in regards to it.
Yes, I would say I think Cody's specialty is collections.
Yeah.
And I guess in the Green Springs system there was a little. The system in general was a little bit casual for a couple of years, and all of a sudden the receivables were starting to expand. So Cody was brought on to Riderwood, to try to get that under control.
Right. And since he's come here, and even just this year, with his new emphasis on collecting bad debt, overdue payments, he's really decreased the amount of bad debt that we have, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's done a
he
terrific
has.
job, yeah.
In regards to it. In fact, he's cut it in over half, I believe.
Yes.
Which is tremendous. That doesn't mean anybody needs to try to add to it.
Well, a lot of it is third party. A lot of the problem is collecting from insurance companies or Medicare or something, and problems like that, or powers, attorneys.
Because there's very few residents who just do not pay.
Exactly.
That's right.
Okay, in regards to it. What would be your advice to residents in regards to their finances? Is there anything we should be doing while we're living here, things that we should be thinking about or preparing for?
Wow, that's a big one. We don't generally give financial advice. One really should have a license before one gets into that category. Generally speaking, if people have questions, I would like to send them to finance.
Okay.
And let them deal with it. I haven't had a license for 20 years.
Joanne?
They may want to think also about the new online billing and if they aren't already doing online payment, they may want to do that. Most of us are looking for ways to simplify our life, and we're surrounded by paper, and things get buried in that paper that shouldn't be, and that may be a good way to go. And you can go talk to the finance office about how to do this, or to your bank. So.
And more people are getting computers and being able to use electronic devices to pull that information up, right?
Or to pay bills, yes.
Right, okay, in regards to it. When a bill comes due, we have until the 10th of the month to get it paid. Is that correct?
No, it often doesn't come to us until about the 10th of the month.
Okay.
So basically, before the end of the month, you want to keep in good status, if you will.
Yeah.
Good standing.
Yes. All right. With our finances, and we were just talking previously with Betty Christmas about the budget, and if we don't have the finances to meet the budget, then a lot of the items we want to do can't be done, right?
Yes, but I think the problem with getting things done in Green Spring is not so much the funding, is that we simply don't have parking for workers, and much less. There's a limit to how much we can inconvenience the residents with projects, as we presently appreciate.
Yes.
But funding, I mean, we have an enormous reserve account. And the funds are there for valid projects.
Okay. Speaking of the reserve account, what we have, 165 million?
I think at the end of June it was 170 million, and that's after drawing down maybe 19 million last year to fund parts of the Garden Dogwood Commons.
Okay.
That is one of the questions that the residents tend to ask, is how the repositioning and the costs of repositioning will affect their monthly payment. Will it increase their monthly payment? And it's just as when we were living in our own home. There's a difference between the bills you pay every month and the money you put in the bank to save for when you have to put in a new kitchen or buy a new car. And that's the difference in the same thing here between our operating expenses and our capital expenditures. So.
That's a really good example. That really is in regards to it, because they're coming out of two different pockets.
That's right.
Yeah.
Buckets.
Well, basically, we have an existing plant that's $400 or $500 million, which is depreciating every year, and depreciation's a non-cash expense, and so we have something like close to $20 million a year in free cash flow, and that's where the buildup of the investment account comes from. So we show zero earnings, but we have this huge cash flow from the depreciation account.
But if we have a major emergency here, I mean, it's like the roof gets blown off or whatever, we've got the funds.
You have those funds there.
To take care of it. Okay. Very good. And then the one last question I've got, a comment I make. We have an insurance policy, right? If we have damage.
Multiple insurance policies, yes.
Okay.
Green Spring does. And of course, we should have on our own apartments.
Right.
We should carry it ourselves in case there is a problem.
But once we have to meet a deductible with Green Spring, right? Green Spring has to meet a deductible.
Yeah, Green Spring, to some extent, I think we're self-insured.
Yes.
And then the excess we lay off to a reinsurer, insurance company.
Very good. Well, both of you have provided a wonderful amount of information about the finances of Green Spring and about the committee. I greatly appreciate you coming on today.
So thank you very much for having us.
And we look forward to you coming back again.
Thank you.
So everybody just needs to make sure we're paying our bills, right?
Pay your bills.
All right. Okay, very good.